Hello and welcome to the London School of Economics for a special joint programme with Al Jazeera and the help of the pro-democracy media group, the Democratic Voice of Burma. I'm Veronica Pedrosa and this is At the Crossroads, dialogue with Aung San Suu Kyi, the recently released Burmese dissident. To put the challenges facing Burma into global perspective, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Helping us facilitate the dialogue is Maung Zani. He's a Burmese dissident and academic, a research fellow here at the LSE. His first-hand knowledge of Burma allows him to share his insights of armed conflict, resistance, and the Burmese military. Mary Kaldor is professor and co-director of global governance. She's written extensively on global civil society. That's how ordinary people organize to change the way their countries and global institutions are run. And Timothy Garton-Ash is a historian, political commentator, and regular columnist for the UK newspaper The Guardian. He's professor of European Studies at Oxford University. In 2000, Aung San Suu Kyi invited Professor Garton-Ash to Burma to speak to members of her party, the National League for Democracy, about transitions to democracies. His main interests are civil resistance and the role of Europe and the Old West in an increasingly post-Western world. To Aung San Suu Kyi, I'm Veronica in London at the London School of Economics.
We're very excited to see you.
Dorsu, opposite me is Dr. Zani, Professor Kaldor, and Professor Timothy Garton-Ash.
Hello.
They're all greeting you, and we have a room full of about 400 excited students and academics.
Well, I don't know if I heard everything you said, but hello anyway.
We're so thrilled to have you with us. Aung San Suu Kyi, you are admired and respected in your country and around the world, but people haven't been able to hear from you because of your long imprisonment. In this dialogue, we want to help you break the silence. Can I ask you to speak a few personal words to the audience we have here, and also to please comment on the main themes of our dialogue: conflict and the need for reconciliation, democracy and its links with development, and civil society?
Well, as for personal words, I'm very glad to be able to communicate with you. That in itself, for me, is a great progress. Because for many years I was not able to communicate with anybody at all. And I think you asked about national reconciliation. I'm afraid a lot of this is going to be guesswork, but let me talk about what I think you want me to talk about. We have always believed in national reconciliation because in Burma there are two points of view which do not quite harmonize. We feel that there is a need for change, but I think the military authorities do not think that there is a need for change. This is the real crux of the problem. We think that change will be good for everybody, not just for us, but for the military junta as well, because we feel that it would give them a greater sense of security and a greater sense of purpose if they were able to talk to those with whom they have not been agreeing for the past 2 decades and find some kind of agreement. We believe that national reconciliation is not only necessary but possible, because in the end, that is the road we have to take if Burma is to get out of the present state of economic stagnation and political unfreedom, if you like, if I may use Timothy's words, because the last book of Tim's that I've read is about freedom, and I like the way in which he used the words unfree and unfreedom. We are at the moment unfree, and we would like to change unfreedom into freedom, and we would like to do it together with the military junta.
Can I sort of follow up just by asking you, have you had any approaches since you've been freed towards negotiations?
Well, no, as I said, we've had a lot of practice of not getting any response, so that doesn't discourage us in any way. We'll just have to continue and persevere and hope that they will understand sooner rather than later that negotiations are as much to their advantage as to ours.
To Aung San Suu Kyi, the Burmese military says the country is not suited to liberal democracy. They speak about discipline flourishing democracy. There are also voices in the region that say economic development has to come before democracy. Can you respond to these arguments?
Disciplined democracy as affecting only the people and not the rulers is not what we would like. And this is something that we have to work towards. That what we want is not just electoral democracy. That is to say, we don't just want elections. We want real democracy. We think that the rule of law is extremely important. The NLD has been emphasizing the rule of law again and again. An independent judiciary, a strong civil society, and all the requisites of a liberal working democracy. So again, it comes down to talking to each other. We have to talk to each other, to exchange ideas about what we expect from democracy. Obviously, they expect something from democracy, even if from a democracy of a disciplined nature. And we would like them to understand what we expect.
Suu, there are a lot of advocates on behalf of commercial interests and trade groups saying that sanction has only hampered democratization and further impoverished the already poor public. As you know, I was critical of blanket sanctions as early as 2003 that hurt the garment workers in Rangoon. But on looking back, the nature of foreign investment that the country attracts is primarily and almost exclusively in the natural resource extractive sector. Do you think that foreign direct investment in the oil and gas, logging and mining will benefit our people?
I don't think that sanctions have anything to do with the humanitarian situation in Burma, because we have never asked for sanctions against anything to do with humanitarian aid. In fact, the only thing we have ever said with regard to humanitarian aid was that it should be transparent, accountable, and open to independent monitoring. We have never tried to stop humanitarian aid in any way. And if you consider the fact that less than 5% of the annual budget is spent on both education and health put together, you can understand that the humanitarian situation in our country has less to do with sanctions than with the policies of the government. We do not think that sanctions have in any way affected the humanitarian situation in this country.
I wanted to ask about what can we, not as Western governments, but as ordinary people who want to be part of your network of democracy activists, what can we do?
We would very much like everybody to call for inclusiveness in the political process in Burma. I think that's a first step that we must take now, at this moment. By inclusiveness, we mean that all political groups and forces should be allowed to take part in the political work of the country. That means political prisoners should be freed as a first step, and that the political process should not be limited to those who are going to be in the new parliament. And if everybody in the world, those who wish Burma to progress towards democratization, could insist on this, that at this moment we start from the point of inclusiveness, I think that we should be able to make practical progress.
One of the ideas we've been talking about is that of an international commission of inquiry, not as a kind of judicial inquiry, but as a fact-finding exercise to establish the facts of what is really happening on the ground in Burma, so that none of either the authorities or the neighbours can deny what is going on. We'd be very interested to know, I think, what you think of that idea of an international commission of inquiry.
I think Professor Quintana has called for a commission of inquiry because he thinks that this is necessary in order to promote human rights in Burma. The NLD has supported the idea of this commission of inquiry, but I think we should make it quite clear that what we are asking for is a commission of inquiry and not a trial of the generals, as some people seem to think. And this has become something of a bogey word, this commission of inquiry, as though we were calling for their generals to be tried in court and condemned. All we want is for Professor Quintana to be given a chance to carry out his work as Special Rapporteur for the Human Rights Commission. And I think that if he feels there's a need, if he thinks, it's not just what if he feels, but if he thinks that there is a need for a commission of inquiry, he would have very good reasons for thinking so, and I think we should all support this, because a commission of inquiry could also lead to reconciliation by clearing the air, somewhat like the Truth and Reconciliation process in South Africa. I don't think we have to look upon it as a direct attack on the military authorities, and certainly we would not like the military authorities to look upon it as a direct attack upon them.
Dosu, can you talk about your efforts towards building a kind of consensus, a kind of unity that could lead to some form of transformation?
What we want to do is to help the ethnic nationalities to get together to present their aspirations and their hopes as one whole, so that we can build a strong spirit of union on these aspirations, based on these aspirations. I know that there have been comments to the effect that the whole Panglong business is a legend, and there have been many misunderstandings about it. We understand this. This is why, as part of the process to a second Panglong, we are trying to arrange a series of talks and discussions about the first Panglong, so that we know what it is all about and what we should do to improve on what we began in 1947. At the moment, we do have the support of many, many ethnic groups, and we hope to expand the support to include as many as possible. Inclusiveness seems to be the latest word these days, and we really want inclusiveness to be at the top of the agenda, not just for the ethnic nationalities, but for all political groups and personalities in Burma.
Also joining us is Professor Amartya Sen, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics back in 1998. He's probably best known for his attempt to relink economics to ethics and social responsibility. He spent part of his childhood in Mandalay, Burma. He can't be with us in person, so he's recorded an address and a personal message for this dialogue.
Well, Burma is in many ways the most important country of my childhood. This is where my understanding of the world began. I was at the age of, between the ages of 3 and 6, I was in Burma. All my earliest memories, the beauty of the country, the fantastic charm of the people, the warmth and hospitality of our Burmese friends and neighbors and colleagues of my parents. These are my earliest memories of Burma. And these have stayed with me and shaped my life, all my life. I was fortunate also to see Aung San Suu Kyi, of whom I have the greatest of admiration. She's one of the great leaders of our time, when she was a student in Delhi, and then briefly in Oxford. I don't think she will remember the occasion. But I came to know Michael Harris, her husband, extremely well, and we often shared our sense of sorrow as well as determination. We celebrated together when Aung San Suu Kyi got the Nobel. We did it in Cambridge, Mass here. Michael had flown in. Michael called me just 3 or 4 days before he died. he was finding it difficult to believe that he was dying. He wanted to deny it, but he wanted also for the battle to continue, for us not to lose focus. I still, when I sometimes lose my sense of determination, or at least fear losing it, I think of Michael and his words with full of strength, even when his voice was faltering on the telephone. These were one of the most moving moments in my life. A few days later, I was told he had died. It was also his birthday. But that determination, that sense of purpose that Michael gave me, and I think gave all of us, is something which we have to cherish, remember, and follow.
Dorsu, audience members would like to ask you a question. Here is the first one.
Hello, Miss Aung San Suu Kyi. My name is Christian Hansen, and I'm from the United States. My question is, where do you see Burma in the next 10 years?
Where do I see Burma in the next 10 years? Well, as to where, I suppose we'll still be in the same place, but as to where we are getting to in the sense of politics, I hope that we will be well ahead of where we are now, even if physically we're still here. And we would like to see, I would like to see a Burma in 10 years' time, full of vigorous young people who have found that there is reason to hope that their country will be a place of security and freedom for them.
Hi, Dasu. My name is Colin. I'm from Canada. I just want to say I'm both humbled and honored to be able to ask you a question. I want to know, with the increasing free trade and market policies of the military junta and India's increasing economic stakes in Burma, is it possible for them to help achieve democracy when they have such economic stakes in Burma?
If you mean that a greater economic opportunities in the country might lead to a greater openness in the political process, I do not think that necessarily follows, because at the moment the economic advantages are limited to a very small circle, and until we can expand that circle, until we have a truly competitive economic scene, I do not think that it is going to help the country to progress along the path to a more liberal situation.
I'm Tonkin from Burmese Rohingya organization UK. We Rohingya people are strongly support you. I would like to ask you one question is, how we younger ethnic generation group we can build up unity together? How can you guide us on that?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do if you really want to achieve unity is to listen to each other. It sounds very simple, but in fact, people don't find it easy to listen to others at all. They simply want to push their point of view, and they don't want to listen to the other person's point of view. So I think we all have to start by learning to listen to each other. It's not as easy as it sounds. It is really difficult, but I think we can work at it and we can succeed.
Another question from the audience, please.
Hello, my name is Maria. I'm from Croatia. I'm very honored to be able to ask you a question. My question is regarding the transition to democracy. Do you feel that the sort of a negotiation-prone part of the military junta are gaining power, or is it the other way around?
Well, there are some people who say that there are no such thing as moderates within the junta, but I don't want to believe that, because I don't think that they all think alike. After all, there are many different people, and I do believe that there are decent people within the junta as well. And whether you call them moderates or whether you call them by any other name, I think they are the ones who might be open to the idea that we will achieve more by cooperating with each other than by attacking each other. We certainly want to make them understand that we are not bent on attacking the junta, that we do not want to see the military fall, as I explained in an interview with the BBC. We simply want to see them rise to new heights of professionalism and patriotism.
It's an absolute honour to speak with you today. Western governments have been full of praise for your release. Do you have any words for them regarding their regulation of their corporations?
Well, What we want to know is why the Western countries think they are investing in Burma. If they think they are investing in Burma for the sake of Burma, then I think we would like to know why they think their investments are going to benefit Burma and how. But if they are simply doing it for their own interests, then of course, you know, I don't think I have to explain to you what I would think of that. But I think that in any case, investments should be based on some ethical considerations. We are not naive. We know that we cannot expect companies to think of human rights primarily. But I think that if they would understand that in the long run, getting the goodwill of the people and making the people understand that they are on the part, on their side, would help these companies' investments to prosper.
And this is the final question from the audience.
Hi, my name is Sarah and I'm very honored to be speaking to you and thank you for your thoughts. It's very inspiring. There has been talks on the TRC in South Africa and how this could be a possible solution to Burma's case. I hear that you admire Desmond Tutu and I do too. I grew up in South Africa and although I see that it had successes partly short-term and narrowly economic, I see that it has ignored, for example, gender-based violence, which is on the rise, and it has now made considerable failures. Would you see it for a possible solution?
Well, I think the great difference between South Africa in the days of apartheid and Burma now is that in South Africa it was a case of color, of black against white, and it was like black and white. It was very clear-cut, and I think the world found it very difficult not to stand on the side of the black people. Now in Burma, it's just yellow against yellow, which makes it rather more difficult, which is why I say very often that I wish we were a different color from the military regime. And then I think we'd have more support from all over the world, because people would find that they were obliged to stand on the part of those who were being discriminated against on the grounds of color. But we are being discriminated against on the grounds of our beliefs, because what we believe in is different from what the military authorities believe in. We have been oppressed and our people have been imprisoned, and yet the world has not all rallied around to support our cause, simply because we are all of the same color. I really wish that all of us working for democracy in Burma would turn into a very distinct, brilliant color like turquoise or purple or something. And then I think we'd get a lot more support from all over the world.
Aung San Suu Kyi, we're going to wrap up our dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And my special thanks to all the students who have sat through this very patiently.
All right, that's all the time we have, but thank you very much for joining us. Aung San Suu Kyi in Rangoon, Dr. Mongzani, Professor Mary Kaldor and Professor Timothy Garton Ash. Also, thank you to our audience here at the London School of Economics and to the Democratic Voice of Burma. I'm Veronica Pedrosa. Goodbye.